AOL is the first provider that I use, and it's just, I think it's 30 years at least, right? 30,
Yeah,
40.
that when it first came out, back in the, back when you had the modem and you'd
Uh-huh.
dial in and it would make you dial in and you'd hear
I remember that. Yeah.
all those noises.
That's
And
old.
so anyway,
Yeah.
so I kept AOL so that when
Uh-huh.
I moved all around the country, it was
Uh-huh.
my one base email. So if I was trying to think, okay, which email did I use when
AOL, right?
it was always AOL as my background one. And then I had a business account.
Uh-huh.
And I've had that email now for about 20 years. And anyway, it's been acting up.
That's good. You still have the AOL one. It's a good one. All
Yeah,
right, let's start. It's a little bit late today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cheyenne's Forum. Today is July 15th. Here's my dear friend Tom. Tom, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, Tom. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to see you. Tom worked in FBI for 30 years, and he worked as assistant director of FBI for 5 years, and he right now he's retired. Again, thank you so much to come to our podcast every
Thank you for
Tuesday.
having me.
Sure, of course. So we have big news. I think it's a huge news. Cash Patel has, it is report that Cash Patel has launched a grand criminal conspiracy investigation into the decade-long weaponized of the federal government. This is something that we're waiting for so long. So according to the report by Just the News, Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Comey, and the other high-level Obama-era operative have been named in the investigation. Wow, that's big. So can you walk us through it? Do you think that eventually Barack Obama will be investigated?
Oh, yeah. I think it's just being investigated now. I think that the issue with that is that the individual violations, you name a specific law that they violated,
Mhm.
those have specific terms. Now, if it's murder, it's forever. But if it's some of the violations might have a 5-year statute of limitations.
Right,
So
right.
that if you don't prosecute within 5 years, it goes away. They
Mhm.
can't. Now, in this case, what Kash Patel has announced is that they're making this a conspiracy case. So when they add conspiracy to all these violations, there's no end limit. So
Ah,
that's why it can be 10 years, 15 years. But if it's conspiracy now, and the other things that hold up the statute are if the bad guy has moved out of the country or if there's some other issue geographically.
hmm.
But normally on a case like this, you bring conspiracy charges, meaning that two or more people were involved in the violation. Then that means there's no limit, there's no time limit to bring the charges.
Sure.
So if he opens a grand jury now to look at these things,
Hmm.
um, and we know it involves Obama because much of this started in the last couple of months of the Obama administration
Hmm.
when they were having meetings. And that's why, if you remember, Michael Flynn was at those meetings. There was a couple of other people, which is why they went after him later to take him out of the picture. So it's a big deal. It adds time and how long it'll take them to look at this, but I think there's ample evidence out there that
Right.
these laws were violated and who violated them and what the reason was for violating.
Hmm.
So I think that what you're seeing is the effort to really, really try to hold Obama accountable,
Hmm.
Brennan and Clapper and some of the others in his administration accountable
Hmm.
for what they did, especially going after Trump.
Right, right. So this is a big news, and to me, it's very exciting news. We're actually waiting for that. And I think maybe that's why it take Kash Patel and his colleagues for such long time to prepare something big, something huge. So I'm so happy to hear that. And also the 5-year term, they try to move out the 5-year term so they can investigate the whole thing, which is brilliant, smart, and it's really, really, yeah, a good movement. And also, I just wonder if this kind of investigation well related to 2020 election fraud, can they be become a one case, or you think it might be a separate case?
I don't know because they have options. So I don't know what their strategy is going to be here.
Mm-hmm,
But if they lump this all into one big the conspiracy that they had and what the theory of the conspiracy is to basically deny Trump the presidency one way or the other.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And even if he got elected, get him out. So there's a lot here, and a lot of laws were violated by the Obama administration, and we know that.
Right, right.
But the Obama administration was followed by the Biden administration, which meant that they pretty much had a free hand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Well, now I think the free hand is over, and Trump can go back and have the DOJ go back and look at these cases,
mm-hmm.
um, and see what they did, see how they did it.
Right. So this case, I think it's, if not the only, but one of the biggest case, this kind of case in the history. And do you have any idea that how long this kind of investigation will last?
Could take
With
a couple
a
years.
couple of years.
And that also will depend on whether somebody, one of the defendants decides to cooperate. And you have a lot of people that were involved that could cooperate.
Right.
So we'll see where that goes. There's a lot of possibilities here.
Uh-huh.
And, it's too soon to celebrate in the end zone, but, it's a good start to go after these cases.
Right. So, like this kind of case, do we need a special counsel to do that, or we don't really need one? So, what's the best solution?
I don't
Or,
think we need one, but
okay.
I think for now they can go forward if they have decent prosecutors at DOJ that can do it. So we'll
Oh,
see.
I see. So, if we have the special counsel need to be approved by the Senate, by the Congress, or it doesn't
Now,
matter?
normally, if they do it right,
Oh,
and you look at all the corners that were cut when they went after Trump,
right,
special counsel and not being approved properly and all the things they did. And then the number of corners that they cut trying to expedite, trying to get that Trump case finished. And the net result is that all the mistakes they made came back to haunt them at the end.
right,
That's
right.
how Trump beat those charges because those cases were so flimsy and
Mm-hmm,
so improperly prepared and then inappropriately presented and all the mistakes that they made because they were in a hurry
mm-hmm.
and then it backfired.
Right,
So they
right.
didn't convict him of anything substantial.
Sure. And people talking about Matt Gates, talking about maybe he can come back to be a special counsel. What do you think the possibility of him to come back to be the special counsel for this case or this investigation?
If they do a special counsel, but we'll see. I think, you still have is Bondi going to outlast all of the troubles that she's gotten herself into, let's
Oh,
say.
yeah,
The basic problem there is that they overpromised and underdelivered.
yeah,
So
right,
all the great evidence all the great files that they were going to have and all that, well, where is it?
right, right.
So we don't
Yeah.
see it. We don't know.
So we'll still hold on and see that. So Obama, I'm interested on this guy. So what do you think he finally and eventually, what kind of punishment he might get? So he was the president. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So what gonna happen to him
Good
if
question.
everything proved?
Good question. Because you've got all of these judges that were appointed by him or by, Biden that basically the
Mhm.
Democrats can do whatever they want and have been doing whatever they want. And
Mhm.
so now, they have to find appropriate prosecutors and judges to pursue this and go
Mhm.
after it. And I think some of the halo over Obama is starting to tarnish and not be as effective as it used to be. And so we'll see. We'll see where this can go in the next few months.
That's 2 months that we can have some idea, right? Is
Yeah,
that what? Okay,
I,
great.
I think so.
Okay, okay, pretty soon. And how about Hillary Clinton? Well, she is the first time in Trump's first term, she just escaped. Nothing happened to her. Everybody
I
knows.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
How about
I
this
know. That's a good question.
Uh-huh.
That's a
So
good question.
yeah, hopefully this time she should get what she should get.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, okay, okay. So are you excited about the case, about the investment they opened,
Um,
or you think they will?
no, I'll wait and see.
Okay,
I'm not celebrating it yet.
sure. Okay, okay. I understand. Okay. Yeah, so you just mentioned about Penn Bondi. And we saw some changes from Trump's team this couple of days. First, Laura Trump just talked to someone in public and said that President Trump heard some MAGA people. They are not happy with how they handled the Epstein case, and
Right.
he knows what's going on there. And second, Trump this morning he talked to the reporter on his own word, and he said, "I have made a conclusion that it comes from Obama, comes from Comey." And it's up to Bondi to see what kind of file she can release. So, what do you think of the change? I think the tone changed a little bit.
A little bit, but it's more complicated than Bondi or anybody saying, oh, we're going to release everything. Oh, we're going to be transparent. We're going to do all these things. Case like this, where you had, hundreds of victims who were underage at the time,
Right,
you can't just release everything. So they have to take into account their privacy
right.
and, what can be made public and what cannot.
Mhm.
And it's not as easy as it looks. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, so here is 1 minute from Trump. Let's listen to the dialogue. I think it's happened uh an hour ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the FBI review, the findings of that review, the attorney general briefed on what? On the on what? On what subject? On Epstein, of the review of the file. Attorney General Pam Bondi. A very quick briefing. Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file? No, she's given us just a very quick briefing. And in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah. Texas.
Yes. So that's what yeah, this is the new one. So what do you think?
I don't
It's
know. Right now, of course, in many ways, Trump is loyal to a fault. So, he refuses to see that how many different ways Bondi has kind of mishandled this from the time she became Attorney General.
right.
So, and then the language that she used was easily misinterpreted. So when she said the files are on my desk, well, the
Mhm.
files would fill up 3 office buildings, if you went by all the
Right,
files.
right, right.
So what's on the was she referring to the so-called list?
Hmm.
Well, is there a phone book that Epstein had of all these people? Somewhere, as he was gathering the videos of all of the people that were involved with these underage girls,
Hmm.
um, where'd that go? So they were talking about the number of files, videos that were seized by the FBI in the Manhattan apartment building
Mhm.
and taken from his safe. They took a giant safe out of there.
Mhm.
Well, the problem with those videos is you have the young girl and her privacy,
Right.
but who was with the girl? And that's the other thing. So are they, prepared to identify all of these different politicians and leaders and business leaders that maybe are in those videos,
Mhm.
you know, having improper relations with underage girls? We don't know. We don't know exactly everything that's in there,
Mhm.
but it could be damaging, and it could be damaging the relations with the UK or Israel or others. So
Mhm.
there's a lot politically as well as prosecutive wise that could be in those files.
Mhm. But theoretically, the government cannot hide the document because people can ask him for the document by
No,
phone.
they can hide them. They can say we're not releasing that for any number of reasons. And the reasons be, one of the reasons being that releasing the videos will identify the victim.
Mhm.
It'll identify the perpetrator and without necessarily due process and all of that. You know,
So,
there's a lot that could prohibit legally the
oh,
release of those files.
sure. So, from your point of view, what is a proper way to handle this case? So, we have victims, we have the crimes. So, what can we handle that in a
Well,
proper way?
I think the proper way is for the Department of Justice to assign, a competent group of attorneys to look at all of these videos and files and documents and determine the legality of what can be released, what can be made public.
Mm, well, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's so do you think through this the whole processing of Bondi handle the case, do you think he's good at her job, or she is just don't know how to handle that, or she just don't know how to do, or I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think I think that I think that she's been over her head, and I think she got caught up. I think her ego got caught up in trying to do these interviews and how important and how they have all this information and what they're going to do with it. And there's a lot of different expressions of she got out over her skis, or she was writing checks that her ego can't cash, or those kind of statements. And I think
Mhm.
that she just got caught up in the attention she was getting to talk about these files, to talk about these cases.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of been her undoing in that way. Now, the other side of this is that normally in an investigation, the FBI would go into the apartment or office or whatever and seize documents, seize evidence,
Right.
take it into custody. Now, that would remain in custody if there's trials pending, but if there's no other trials pending with Epstein, those documents, I mean, they get archived, and the FBI doesn't keep them in their possession. So it's
Mhm.
not like you can go into an FBI office and tell the agent in charge, okay, get me all the files on Epstein, because normally those files wouldn't still be there this far after prosecution. And
Mhm.
now that he's dead, would be another reason. So normally, the evidence or the material would more likely be in the custody of DOJ if there were still court cases pending and not necessarily in the FBI's custody.
Ah, well, thank you. That's very important detail. Very important detail because I remember when Bondi said the documentation should be released on Friday, and then all of a sudden, the day before, she said she find out the on Friday the file is not released as promised, and then she gave explanation publicly, said that the day before that she knows there are huge amount of file still in somewhere in FBI. Remember? And then
Yeah.
that's the reason that they did not release the file on time. So that might not be
The files of FBI investigations, if you take, for example, here in Washington,
right.
where you might have, review of these cases or the compiling of the documents, there are so many from all these different cases
Hmm.
that the FBI has a giant warehouse facility, and they hired somebody, group of somebodies, to take care of these files and make
Sure.
sure that they
Mhm.
were properly stored. And this
Right.
particular, I've not been to that place, but it's about 50 miles west of Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
And that's where the files are housed, where they're archived.
Hmm.
And so the FBI, the average, if you, in an investigation, if you need a file that's already been sent to that closed, you submit a request
Hmm.
into the records management division of the FBI, and then they make arrangements to have that file brought to whatever field office is
Right.
making the request, whether it's FBI headquarters or the Washington field office or the New York office, whatever it might be,
Mhm.
that if an agent or analyst wants a file or a group of files, that's how that goes. They
Mhm.
would already not be in that office. They'd have to go get it and
Mhm.
have it transported to that office for the agent or analyst to review. Now, they can also make arrangements in those situations where if there are so many files and it would be so logistically difficult to move them and
Mhm.
send them to an office, then they send the analyst or the agent to where the files are
Mhm.
and set up where they can be reviewed at that location rather than transport all those files
Right.
to downtown Washington or New York or somewhere else.
So it's a protocol. You have to follow all the steps, right? This is a
Yeah, and
process.
the assistant director that runs the records management, if they still use the same name, records management division, but the person in charge of that would be an expert in
Hmm.
storing, maintaining,
Hmm.
recovering those
Hmm.
kind of files, those kind of documents, and maintaining proper custody.
Hmm. So yeah, some people said that the Democrats might destroy some of the important files. Do you believe so? Can they do that?
I
Do
don't
you?
think they can get there. I don't think so.
Oh,
Because
okay.
normally if you go to review, you make a request to go, and the average Democrat has no reason to be looking at those files. But if you make an investigative request that you need to review those files
Hmm.
as an agent, as an analyst, as
Hmm.
an executive, whatever, in the FBI or a prosecutor,
Hmm.
then you go to where those documents are, you review them there, and you're under cameras, and so you're not going to be able
Okay.
to obstruct justice and destroy those files or sneak them out or any of that.
All right. Okay. So this is a good news because there are so many people wondering or saying that it might be the case that the Democrats are already destroy some of them, so you don't have the whole file, or the file is not complete because it's been damaged or destroyed for some reason. So,
That
you're
kind of situation could happen during the investigation. Let's say you're working the case, you're
okay.
you're making reports.
Okay.
Uh, the report of an investigation is called an FD-302. So you're
Mhm.
generating a 302 on such and such date. I interviewed so and so, and they gave me the following information, and you put that in your report. You have that typed up, you review it, supervisor okays it to go to the file. Now it goes to the file, and while that investigation is pending and they're actively doing it, that agent or other agents can recover that document to review it, or it can be transmitted to another office where another group of agents could review it. And
Mhm.
typically in the FBI, that's typically what would happen with 56 field divisions and about 700 sub offices. Whichever office generates that document, and
Mhm.
it would go into the file system, and then other agents and other divisions or analysts could request to have access to it, to review it.
Mhm.
Now, early in the investigation, it would get transmitted to that office directly. But later, after a case is closed, in the case with Epstein, you would presume these cases have been closed a long time. Then it would go into the closed files section, which in this case now is a separate building from the FBI.
I see. So, by that you mean if the case is under investigation, is still going on, that probably someone have chance to destroy some evidence. But once the case closed,
Well, the problem with that is that maybe 75 years ago, or when I was an agent back in prehistoric times, you would generate the document, it would be on paper.
right,
But gradually, over the last 60, 70 years, those documents became electronic.
right.
And you're not going to be able to destroy an electronic document. It's in the system, you
Mm-hmm,
know, in and of itself, it's in the system and it's archived that way. So
mm-hmm.
you would not. And if you make a request to review a document, you would be on record as the one reviewing it, what date, what time, which file number, et cetera. So it's not as easy as people might suspect. Maybe in the old days, you could get the paper and
Destroy
stick
it,
it stick
right.
it under your jacket and sneak out of the office with it.
Like old movie, huh?
Yeah, but those days were gone when I was still in the FBI. You couldn't do that.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so well, thank you so much for explaining the whole processing of the documentation and how you guys keep the files. It's very important in this case because there are so many people are wondering that someone just destroyed the case. It's not easy, or in some ways it's impossible because it's electronic document. They have to have some copies on the system, so you will find something in the system, even though someone tried to destroy something, it still might be somewhere you can find the document or the file. So this
Right.
is yeah, this is a good news then. So President Trump mentioned that it's probably from Obama, from Comey, from Buchanan. What do you think about that possibility for the Epstein file that made by these guys? And also, I noticed that the Democrats are asking for release the document. And just like President Trump said, if this contains something hurt the MAGA movement, why don't they release that when they're in power? So what do you, yeah,
Well,
what,
that's a good argument. If you look at, some people have said, well, maybe Trump himself is in these, that investigation showed that maybe Trump was with one of these girls or whatever. And, the good argument is that the whole time from the time Trump ran for office in 2015, became president 2016, and then, ever since, any chance, any damaging document or photograph or video that they could find to go after Trump, they'd have used it.
right,
And,
right.
the fact that they didn't have any such document or ability to use something against him,
Mhm.
Tells you they didn't have it, that it wasn't there.
Right, right. And so that then why they are asking for releasing the document now? If there nothing hurt Trump, hurt MAGA movement, and why these people, this
Well,
Democrat,
they're asking for documents that may not be presented. Again, the other arguments about the victims and their identity and prosecutions and appeals that may be pending, which is another reason for documents that can't, because, Ghislaine Maxwell, uh, Epstein's partner, she's appealing her 20-year sentence. So
right, right.
now all the different things that might pertain to her or Epstein or everything they did,
Mhm,
um, would have to be held, confidential now
mhm,
because her case is pending, and they might need those documents in her case. So from a legal, you have logistical challenges, but you also have legal, and that's the bigger one. What's going to happen here? And the fact that her case is still pending or
mhm,
her appeal is pending
mhm,
makes a difference.
mhm, mhm. So, like President Trump said today, right now it's up to Pembandi, see what kind of document she decide to release. So what do you think the
Well, that
Pembong?
basically means Bondi and her, Department of Justice attorneys and the trial attorneys and the attorneys having the appeal of Maxwell's appeal. There's a group of people that have a lot of say in what can or should be
Mhm.
held confidential or can or should be released. So I think what Trump is basically saying is that it's complicated. Let DOJ figure it out.
Right, right. Okay, so now we're waiting for Pembondi and see what's she gonna reply or what is she gonna handle this kind of chaos because there are so many people are not happy with that. And we do not want to see that it hurts MAGA movement and it hurts the support to Trump and his team. So
Right.
yeah, that's the thing. And then and about Russia, Ukraine, did you see that Americans' new policy that Mr. President Trump announced yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you
I
think
think he's getting frustrated with Putin and trying to deal with him
right,
and trying to, that's why now, he's gone back to saying, it's not my war. Biden started this. This is
right,
before my time. And,
right,
there's only so much he can do about it.
right.
And the idea that all of a sudden he's going to send more weapons to Ukraine,
Mm-hmm,
I think he's trying to get Putin to move off the dime
mm-hmm,
and try to get this thing ended sooner.
mm-hmm. Do you think it will work? Do you think Putin care about that, or he cannot handle that?
Well, it hasn't worked yet, so so I don't
Yeah,
know.
right, because
I'm not I'm not optimistic that it's going to work.
okay, so if it's not gonna work, what's gonna happen then?
Well, I think what's going to happen is it's going to depend a lot on Putin himself. How aggressive is he going to get? Does he want to, you know, more or less finish the job in the Ukraine? Putin said from the beginning he had no interest in taking over Ukraine. So he doesn't want to defeat them in the traditional sense that all of a sudden now they're dead and gone and I'm in charge. We're going to run Ukraine. I think he's been hoping that Zelensky and the other people in charge in Ukraine would just realize it's futile and stop all this, get it over with. And so far I don't know. It's not working so far.
Right. It seems like he's not asking for too much. He just want to have the four cities, four areas of Ukraine from the very beginning of the war. It seems
Before
like
before he invaded Ukraine in the first, his only request was a promise that Ukraine would not join NATO. He
right,
didn't want NATO and American and European weapons and all
right,
that equipment on his border. He
right.
wanted protection from that, just like we would. And I think that that never happened. They had an agreement that was going to happen prior to the invasion. If you remember, Ukraine and Russia were negotiating in Istanbul to
Hmm.
try to prevent this thing from even starting.
Right.
And at that time, the recommendation was made to Zelensky, basically, promise you'll never join NATO.
Hmm.
And he more or less did. And then the British, if you remember Boris Johnson, they intervened. Oh, no, 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 no. You can't make that promise. We'll help you. We'll help you win. We'll give you all the weapons you need and all of that. So it's
Hmm.
really the UK and Biden, if he was half awake, that really escalated this thing to the point where Putin basically said, well, okay, we'll go in. But he only went in so far. And Putin never had a big enough military that he was going to go take over Poland and Germany and everybody else in Europe. He
Right.
barely had enough military in the beginning to even go into Ukraine. So he had to amplify his military resources quickly back in 2022 and 3 in that time frame. And that's what it was about. He was trying to get Ukraine and everybody to back off and
Hmm.
agree that would be the deal. They're not going to join NATO.
Hmm. So it seems so strange that things happened up to today. Because I remember Trump said yesterday, he actually talked to Putin many times, and every time Putin made some promise, and then when they hang up the phone, Putin just do whatever he wants to do. So it made him surprised that why he's not listening, why he's not keep his promise. And he said, seems like he doesn't listen to me. It is a big change compared to the first beginning when
Right.
when President Trump started to talking about the war, and he said he will call Putin and he can make a deal. It seems like the Putin right now at least doesn't care about how Trump said or what Trump offered. He just do whatever he wants. So what he want actually, or his goal changes. For example, maybe he just want Ukraine don't get into NATO, and he asking for the four areas of Ukraine to become a part of Russia, and then he changed his mind. He wanted bigger, or he wants something else. Is that he changed, or something other changed? And also, when President Trump promised us that we will not get involved in the war, no more war. And now we're still selling the weapon to Ukraine. So we see the changes happening in front of eyes, but why? Do you have
But
any thoughts?
yeah, I think that Trump has been surprised that he's not able to have achieved peace by talking to Putin or Zelensky or NATO or anybody else.
Hmm.
And so, they've been lying. They've been lying to him. They've been doing what they want, and they keep doing what they want. So I
Hmm.
think that Trump, uh, is pretty frustrated and fed up with the whole thing. So now he decides, well, all right, in the meantime, we'll send weapons to Ukraine. So we're back to where we were, before Trump got elected,
Hmm.
um, of helping Ukraine try to fight a military war against Russia, which they can't possibly win. It just means more Ukrainians, more Russians, more Europeans die.
Yeah.
And that's where they're at now.
Well, the thing is, they do not want to stop. Zelensky does not want to stop. Putin does not want to stop. That's the fact,
Well,
right?
if Zelensky stops, he's like Netanyahu. He's going to be out of office. He's not going to. He only keeps power while the war goes on, and then
Hmm.
he can say, "Okay, I've got to stay in charge of Ukraine. We can't have a transition now. We're at war." And so as long as they stay at war, he stays in power,
Right.
just like Netanyahu in Israel. As
Hmm.
long as they're still at war, he stays
Right.
in power.
Right.
And in his case, he's looking at possibly going to jail along with his wife.
Hmm.
So
That's right.
that's why these guys want to keep the war going.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like maybe President Trump has a misunderstanding about Putin and Zelensky. He wants them as a president of their own country. They do not want a war. They do not want their own people dying every day. And right now, maybe he figured out that they don't care. They don't care. And then Trump said, people dying every day. They are Russian. They are Ukraine. They are not American people. So they should be the one who wants to have a peace, much more than we do. So when he figured out that they don't want the peace, and he probably think, okay, whatever. This is your wall. This is my wall. Isn't my wall. And also, what do you think about the deal that he sell the weapon to Ukraine, but he got to pay? It's not like he just give it to Ukraine. They got to pay from NATO. Do you think NATO will do that? They have money
Yeah,
to.
and he's using other countries to cut it out. So he'll give it to another country, that country will sell it or give it to Ukraine. And so it's not directly going from the US to the Ukrainians, but I think that's a minor detail, in my
Hmm,
opinion.
it's still that. And also the tariffs and said 50 days, if within 50 days you guys can not have a peace deal, then 100% tariff to Russia and to the countries that doing business with Russia. The first country is China. So what do you think about this tariff? You think is a smart move?
Well, he threatens all these tariffs, and that makes the other country negotiate, and then they work it out. So
Mhm,
in a way, it's almost like he's bluffing with these tariffs, but they're working. So all the threats of the tariffs in the last year,
mhm,
last half a year,
mhm.
have made a huge difference in the people coming to the table.
Right, right. So it might work, right? The peace
Might.
talk might not
So far,
work.
it's been working.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see, because China and in India and Turkey and Iran, they don't like that. They don't like 100% tariff for doing business with Russia. Maybe Russia doesn't care because they don't have many business to do with US right now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we'll see. And then, all right, wow. Yeah, almost 1 hour. Time goes so fast.
You know.
For the Cash Patel, the new investigation of the Obama, Brennan, and also Comey, you think that we will see something within months, and eventually the whole processing, the investigation, might be take years. And after that, what we expect to see after they done the investigation, what
So
we
what I would expect to see in the short run is that somebody in that group's going to cooperate
that
and
means.
and turn against their former colleagues. So you've
Okay.
got a lot of people in there.
Uh,
Uh, we'll see how that goes. But you've got Comey, you've got um, Obama, Clapper,
mhm,
Biden himself. Biden was in those meetings before he took the presidency while he was vice president. So when they were having all those discussions, there were a number of people involved in that,
mhm.
um, to go against that. And you've got guys like Flynn that can testify. He
You're
was
right.
in many of those meetings until they turned on him. So there are a number of people that could do damage if even just one of them decides to cooperate with the government. They could do tremendous damage to the others.
Right. That would be good news. And do you think we can see a trial eventually? The court, these guys are on a
Yeah,
court.
good, good, yeah.
That's good. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we're waiting for. Wow, I'm so excited because this is fundamental to this country. So
Right,
important. It's much
right.
worse than Watergate. So yeah, it's very good news. And also, you mentioned that it's right now up to Ken Bundy for the Epstein file to release or not release. And also, thank you so much for explaining the processing of the documentation, how you keep the document at FBI or DOJ. So yeah, this is so critical to know that how the government works, so people will understand something some people said it might be not true. So this is very important because yeah, there are so many different saying outside right now. And also for the Ukraine and Russia, we'll see what's gonna happen and see what the tariff will do. And for something that changed a little bit from President Trump from the very beginning and right now, it's reasonable, right? Do you think so?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I agree.
it's an adjusting period of time. And also one last question for 1 or 2 minutes. What do you think about the auto pen thing? They are investigate of the auto pen and they find out there are so many signatures is not under Biden's proof.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot more to come out about that and a lot more people that are, potentially involved in it. And, the admissions that are coming out now that, the thousands of times they use that auto pen.
Mhm.
And even Biden now apparently halfway admitting that he didn't approve every one of those.
Yeah,
So
right.
if you have some aide that decides, oh, this guy's my buddy, I'm going to auto pen a pardon for him,
Mhm.
um, I don't think it's going to last. And I think that's going to put in jeopardy all the pardons that were hurriedly put out by
Mhm.
Biden or by that staff or whoever was operating the machine. Um, so we'll see how that goes.
Right.
But I think that there's way more to come out on that auto pen issue and how much the courts weigh in. So
Mhm.
now you have cases like cases against Fauci that Senator Ron Paul is pushing and all of that. So
Mhm.
Fauci, he doesn't have that, oh, look at me, I've got immunity. Well,
Mhm.
there's a big question of whether that's legal or not. And most legal scholars are saying probably not.
Right.
So
Right.
Fauci may find out the hard way. He does not have immunity.
Yeah, right. So one legal question, for the auto pen, you need to have the president approve to do that, right? Is verbal proof
He needs
count?
to approve it, and then yeah. But I think even Trump was trying to explain earlier today that
Right.
you have, the White House gets probably 10,000 letters a month.
Right, right,
So,
yeah.
and so if the president wants to send a Cub Scout or a Girl Scout a
Mhm.
personal, what looks like he
So no,
signed,
yeah, right, right.
oh, thank you for your, congratulations on
Right, right.
becoming an Eagle Scout or whatever it might be.
Uh-huh.
And then that person gets that auto pen
Mhm.
signature, or the kid, let's say, gets that.
Yeah, right.
Then you don't have a president. When you watched Trump sign a document, his executive orders,
Mhm.
look at the time it took for one signature, his
Right.
large up and down, up and down, up and down.
Mhm.
Well, multiply that times how many thousands were
Right.
sent out. So,
Physically impossible.
right,
Right. So
right.
yeah, it's I just wonder that the proof from the president, you need to have a writing proof. The verbal proof counts. Saying the president said, okay, you can sign this like auto pen. Is that count legal or you
Yeah, I
have
think it would count if he personally made the decision and they're using the machine to execute his will, let's say, carry it out.
okay.
So I think it would be legal, but what they're looking at is how many hundreds and hundreds were signed when Biden didn't even approve it. Biden was, sleeping or whatever he was doing.
Mhm.
So that's where it comes up is that he did not, and so they know now the young aides in the White House that were actually operating the machine,
Which
generating the signatures.
so this is not legal.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's good. And that's very important to know. So we're looking into that and we're waiting some news come out from there.
Yeah,
So
no kidding.
okay, well, thank you so very much, Tom.
Okay, well, thank you.
Sure, thank you. So I'll translate into Chinese later today. And thank you for clarifying something to us and also explain the auto pen, which is very important. People are looking into that
Right.
very much so. Well, thank you, and I'll see you next week.
See you next week.